Well, hello everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, IBM I Data. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Thanks for joining us. As the IBM I expert at your organization, you know that the data that drives important business decisions is scattered across your IBM I and other platforms. But many IBM I shops struggle to find a way to consolidate this information and allow both IT and business users easy access and fast interpretation of their key information. Decision makers often need to discover and understand the data before they can make good business decisions. So what we want to share with you today is how with SQL you can quickly and easily create and share dashboards to display clear, actionable information. My name is Stacy Jensen, and I will be your host for today's webinar. I'm the sales manager for the Business Intelligence Division here at Help Systems. Today we have our expert who has joined us, Mike Stegman. Mike is our Senior Data Access Consultant with Help Systems and has been working with SQL for over 18 years and on the IBM I since its inception in 1988. How are you today, Mike?
Pretty good, but every time I hear those dates, it's like, man, have I been around that long?
Well, I was thinking it, but you said it, so that's okay.
Absolutely. But I'm doing very well. Thanks. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
So just a little housekeeping about today's session. If you have any questions during the session, feel free to send those in through the chat feature. You can reach that chat option by clicking on the orange arrow at the top right-hand side of the screen. We'll address those questions at the end of our webinar. We're recording the webinar, and we will include a link to the recording with a follow-up email, usually within a day or so. So we have a lot of good information to share today, but before I hand things over to Mike for our demonstration, in PowerPoint, we have a couple of polling questions. So the polling questions will be, what do you currently use for data access? And do you currently use dashboards? So we'll start with our first polling question. What do you currently use for data access? So you have a few options there. Select all that apply. So SQL, we noticed we have a lot of SQL customers on the webinar today, so thanks for joining us. IBM query, do you still write programs? Are you using SQL? Or is there something else out there that you are using today? So we'll give you a few
It's
seconds.
interesting to see the responses here of the folks coming in, the folks that are here, just to see, who's using what and kind of where they're at. Because when we do talk to customers, there are some who say, I haven't written an SQL or an RPG program in years and years and years, right? You got Carl from the South Carolina there, he's on a recording on our website somewhere. It says that all the time. He goes, it's been 10 years since I've written an RPG program. I do everything in SQL, right? And then you got others who are just getting started and kind of making the transition. So it is good information for us just to kind of see where everybody's coming from.
Exactly. So we appreciate your participation in this. So we could probably move on to the next one.
Absolutely, yep. Just gotta click that. Let's just do a quick share.
There we go.
Just a quick share. There we go.
Yeah, very interesting. Yep. So just like we said, still we've got SQL customers that join us, which we love. Still high percentage still using query, writing programs. So very interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, excellent. All right.
And then just one more polling question. Do you currently use dashboards? So really easy. Yes, not yet, but we know those users have been knocking on IT's door, right? No, or maybe you're just not sure. Maybe there's another department that has put something in place.
Yeah, we still get those calls from SQL customers who go, yeah, somebody's asking for a dashboard. You guys do dashboards, right? Yeah, have been for a while. So.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So that's a quick poll. Maybe we could see the results on that. And
absolutely.
So, interesting. Yes. I wonder if those are the SQL customers, right? Not yet, but users have been asking, and that's what we hear a lot when we talk with people today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you very much, everybody, for participating in that. So, Mike, you've got some work to do. Let's move on to the PowerPoint and the demonstration.
There you go. Absolutely. Just gotta close this down. All right, beautiful. Okay. All right, Mr. WebEx, talk to me.
Yeah, so we're still seeing the poll.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's just not letting me move on here. Poll is closed. We've shut that down. Yep. Come on. Okay.
Technical difficulty.
Yeah, a little technical difficulty here. Yeah, it's not letting me click to move on. Hello, come on. Let me just try this and come back to this. There we go. Excellent. All right. So business users often realize what information they need in order to make the organization more efficient in today's business environment. One of those aspects is the ability to see and analyze their data. Simply put, good data leads to good analysis, which leads to better decisions, right, within the business. Often, though, the user's eyes kind of glaze over when the discussion begins to touch on data sources, data access, data manipulation, etc. Sometimes IT will present solutions that seem quite simple to them, but are really complex and require many, many steps and a lot of IT time to create or to change, right? Such as writing programs or using a lot of different tools. Others take a troublesome path of trying to move their data to a PC, like an SQL Server, right? Often the number of servers required to handle that data is much larger than first thought. Studies have shown that the cost of ownership of the Windows servers required when moving data is much higher than keeping the data on the IBMI. And the securability of the eye is much greater than on PC-based systems. The reliability, scalability, and securability are the key strengths of the IBMI. Newer operating systems, too, are making the platform faster, and IBM continues to add features and functions to the system that was built only for business right from the start. A lot of people don't realize this, if you're not as old as I am, that the AS400, the original system there, was built for businesses right from the start. And if you do have data on other platforms, such as an SQL Server or Oracle, MySQL, right, and others, Excel, Access, you can access that data right from SQL, right? And if you need to merge the data, SQL script is what you use, script or script view. Bring that information together. There we are. So regardless of the source of the data, business users want a quick glance to see where the company is right now. They may also want to drill into the data or to see more or different types of data. Each organization and department within an organization have different KPIs, key data that can indicate to business users what the performance of the company or department is right now. Dashboards are a great delivery mechanism for that information. Whether the intent is for the dashboard to be interactive with buttons and drill downs, export to PC files, or if it's simply displayed on a large monitor and set for auto refresh. SQL dashboards are flexible in their design. This flexibility of SQL allows the designers to create the dashboards that are required for the users in the style that is beneficial to them. And as those in IT probably know, if users don't find something that's easy to run and easy to use, they may not use it. All right, business users can run SQL dashboards from shortcuts right on their desktop with the browser. Can't get much easier than that. Links can also be added to internal web pages if you already have something set up. Okay, so now I'm going to do a SQL demo, brief SQL demo here. I'm going to touch on several areas, and along the way, I'll just sprinkle in some extras. So we're going to talk about creating your views, right? Creating the results, eliminating the barriers if you have multiple data sources, increasing the flexibility with data distribution, which of course would be the dashboards. So give me a moment here while I switch over to my desktop. All right, so now this is Viewpoint, right? For those of you who haven't seen it, this is our GUI interface. You have different tabs, different functions that you can go up. You can come up and do an import query. For those of you who still use IBM queries, you can use those as a basis to start from, right? And your KPIs, when you put something on a dashboard, you have to build those things called views, right? So that's where we're going to start with. We're going to build a view. So we're not going to import a query. We're not going to build something new just for time's sake, right? We don't want to spend too much time. So I'm opening this one that's already created. I have 3 files joined at the top. I have a couple of fields down below. You can see I'm doing, let me make this a little bigger here, summary of a calculation, sales histories, quantity times actual selling price, and quantity times standard cost. Now within SQL, you can do a named field math, like I'm doing sales minus cost, and then I'm doing some math to get the margin as well. Okay, so that gives me everything I need. Now, the beauty of SQL here is if I bring in a field and make a change, I can take it right out. If I need to add a new field, I go to my expression editor. That's where I built these other fields, and there's all my functions that I have there, right? The where clause down below is my filter. This particular view doesn't have it because based on my joins, I'm getting all the information that I need. I can hit the display button right from here and see. Now, remember, this is an existing one, so I previously had added some colors. Those aren't the default colors. Just move it around here so you can see it. So now I'm looking at total sales, total cost, and total margin for the last 3 years, right? Don't have the information for 2019 yet, but there it is. It's real easy to add those colors to your results set. Okay, so you build your series of KPIs, right? You go out, you build them, whatever your KPI is. And in our support line, if you are a SQL customer, you already know this, they can help you with that, right? Here's another one that I have. I have query, this one's actually a table, right? If you look at it there, it's a table. So a SQL table, a host table, has fiscal year, in this example, going down along the side, and quarters going across the top. Right? So from the data, I was able to grab the year and the quarter, and then my sales information, and then the tabler denormalizes it and flips it over, right? And it all started from a view. I have another one here, a rolling 12-month income statement, which is showing percentage of sales. So sales starts off with 100%, and then you go down from there, right? Till you get to your net income numbers. So there's a lot of KPIs that you can build within SQL. Now, we've done other webinars on doing some of those type of building of the views. You can go back and look at some of those, or if you need help, just call our support line. If you're not a SQL customer yet, these are just some of the things that you can do. Applications, tables, these are other things that you can do within SQL. Okay, application is a view-to-view drill down. So now we're going to start a new dashboard because that's kind of the distribution or presentation for today's webinar. Okay, open it up. It's a blank canvas and it doesn't matter the order. I always like to start with a text. I like to have something on the screen, right? And I always laugh at myself. I always call my dashboard a dashboard, right? I put KPI dashboard out there, but you know, that's me. I'm a little goofy. You can change the font, pick your font size. I don't like to have a border, but again, that's me. It's really up to you when you design yours. Now let's start bringing in our SQL objects. Okay, right-click insert is the easiest way to do it. I go to my library where my views exist, or my SQL objects. I named them all KPI, right? So there's the first one I'm going to bring in. KPI sales. Now it's running it, and there it places it on here, right on the dashboard. So I place it. Now, if I'm going to hide this and have only a gauge or a graph built over this, the placement doesn't matter as much, and the size of the window doesn't matter as much, obviously. But if you are going to have the data, you want to keep it out there. So now I'm going to highlight all 3 years in all three columns, not the percentage, hit my graph button, and now I get a chart or a graph. Okay. Now this is going to stay out here, so I want to size and position it eventually by the time I'm done, but I can make some tweaks to this. The first one I like to look at is the row order versus column order. So you can see how it flips those around. I can have the year going across the bottom. So I have my years grouped together, 2016, 2017, and 2018 with different colors for the sales cost and margin. The row order changes it the other way. I put my sales cost and margin together with years having a different result set. I like to turn on the toolbar to make other changes. You know, like if I want to change it to a line graph, I can do that. Okay, I can go back to a bar. I like to do two-dimensional bars. It's just the way I like to do it, especially if I'm going to run it from a browser, but it can always be changed at any time. Okay, and so you make your changes. I'm also going to change the title here, just, you know, because I picked multiple information, it didn't know exactly what to call it, the system didn't, so I'm just going to call it out here. I'm just going to put sales cost margin year over year. Okay, just YOY. Just, again, I'm a little goofy on that, but that's just the way I like to do it. I like TLAs, right? 3-letter acronyms. Turn off the toolbar. You can pick and choose, like I said, your order, how you want it to end, see how it looks, right? How is this what you want to do? And if you think with the end in mind, if this is what the user asked for, you're kind of going to know ahead of time how they want to see it, right? So the more the user is giving the information to IT, the more that'll be helpful. So I'm hiding the toolbar. You can also hide the border at runtime. Okay, so that's the blue box that goes around the chart there. And hiding the toolbar removes any, you know, the user can't do anything but look at it basically from the browser side especially. So let's add something else out here now. Now I'm going to come out here. I'm going to actually add an application. It's called Air Drill. An application is a way that we link views together for drill downs, so the user can go from one to another to see more information. So now I'm looking at an aging, right? I have sales regions out on the left, excuse me, and I have my aging. I'm going to highlight the total AR column and hit my chart button. Now I'm getting the total accounts receivable by region, okay? It always takes the leftmost column with whatever you highlight if you just have the one column like this. So the same thing we can do, go to the toolbar, make any changes we wanted. If you want on a bar, we go to a bar. This one I'm going to leave as a pie. Okay, title, the font of the title, that kind of stuff. You can leave the toolbar, you can hide it, you can hide the border. It's all design at this point. What do the users want? What do you want to see? Now, since this one has, it's a drill down application, I do want to keep the toolbar out there because the user's going to run it from the browser, and then having the toolbar gives them the easy ability to drill down. So I hide my cost year over year data, okay? I can move things around, move my AR chart over like so. Now I'm going to insert a gauge, right? I want to see the total of my AR without having the data out there. You have some different gauges to choose from, dials, thermometers, digital readouts, custom images, right? The stoplights, and that one of those was in the PowerPoint. You saw some stoplights out there. Now you get to pick a value, right? So what I'm going to do is go to my AR column on my data and just highlight it, and that'll populate back into the gauge. And it's 369, 157. You see it there? Now, there it is. It's approximately at 369. So as an option, I can show the main value, kind of like an odometer, right, on a speedometer. And I can see those numbers. Now, if I go back and I can set a maximum if I want, I'm going to set this at 500,000. There you see now it moves up a little bit, so kind of gives me a 500,000. If you don't, we'll round it and give it to the next large number. I can set my main value at a small number. Now this is what I like to do. I like to highlight or shrink down the numbers. It frees up some real estate, I call it. So instead of having the 100,000 numbers, I make them smaller with just hundreds, right? If I could type, I could get it done. Now, sometimes you have to do this twice because when we free up more room, the system says, oh, I'm going to put more numbers out here. So you just go back in. I've never had to do this more than twice. And it's just, you see how quick and easy it is. Just make your change. Again, it's optional, but it's a nice, easy way to make your gauge look a little better. So now I have more real estate. I have more information out there to show on my dashboard. Now, since it's the gauge, I have that little wheel around it, and we are talking AR. So I'm going to make the first 150 come up in a red color. So I have to tell it 150,000, the actual number. And you have two palettes to choose from, your standard Windows palette or this drop-down palette that comes up. And I'm going to go to red. So my first, actually I'm going to go to green. I misspoke. Green, low AR, right, is good. And I picked a lighter green, a green yellow. So then the middle one's going to be an actual yellow. So if I go to 150 to about 350, pick that as yellow, 350,000. You can actually just type the letter and it'll take you to the nearest color there, which is good. Now I'm going to go from 350,000 up to 5. Now this one's going to be red. And again, with the drop down here, I can just, if I don't see it, I can type it in. Now I have a little bit of colors on my chart or on my gauge, right? Color scheme, nice, easy way to pick some things. You can pick different colors, whatever you want. Again, this is more cosmetic. I happen to like Black Forest. It reminds me of a tachometer on a muscle car, right? And you can choose custom for the borders inside and out, indicator cap and bar there. You can change that if you want the background color. I have a white background, so my gauge background also being white blends in nicely. Now I can position and size my gauge anywhere I'd like to. All right, so I can move that around. I'm not really sure why I got a little square there, but okay. Never mind, won't be there at the end, I hope. But I'm gonna hide now my data because I don't need it anymore. Move my gauge around. Let's move it up to the top a little bit. There we go. Now I'm going to insert an action button, actually a couple of them. So what an action button is, right? It allows the user to do something else, right? To click on it to get to another dashboard, another view, right? So I'm going to give the button a label, customer order history, change the color of the button. Okay, I'm going to pick a gray color there. You can change the font and the font size. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, 16 is good. Now I'm going to tell it to go run a SQL object, which is again a customer history. I have to go to a different library now because that's where I placed that particular view. It's called Business Intel, and it's called Cust Boards. Oh, wrong one. There we go. And the results are going to be displayed in a new window rather than printing or emailing or something like that you can do with these buttons. Now I'm ready to go, click OK. Now I can position and size the button and I move it around accordingly. Okay, so whenever I want it to be, place it out there. I'll add a second one here, insert an action button. You can add as many as you want, right? As many data, as many graphs, as many gauges. And this one's going to be my sales information by product. I like to have all my buttons similar colored. That's me. Like I said, I'm a little particular. It doesn't matter the library location. I just have to go find that one. I know it starts with sale, so I type that down there. And it's called sales by sales rep. Okay, it's actually a dashboard, and that's okay. From a button, you can run a dashboard. So that's what I'm doing here is I'm actually telling it to go run a different dashboard, which is going to show me sales by sales rep. Okay, it does say sales by product. Sorry about that. I can change that, but just resize it. If you look closely on the dashboard, you see those little dots back there? That's called grid control. You can control the spacing of those if you want a little bit tighter control. This is the default pixel size. You can test the action by doing a right-click test action. Okay. When it's run from viewpoint or from the browser, all you have to do is click the button, but right-click test. Now this is a nice little trick. I'm adding a text box, right? And I'm making the background and the foreground color the same. So I get this little gray box there. I just make it bigger. Okay, I move it around where I want it to be approximately, and I say send to back. Now it looks like my buttons are kind of on a placemat, right? A little holder. And again, I can size those based on the pixels. I can move it around. So it gives you a nice little background, and you can do that. You can also make those narrower and darker to do horizontal or vertical lines, etc. Now this is good enough for now. I'm going to save it. You always want to save it as a system I object. Originally, for those of you old-time SQL users, your only choice was as a PC, but years and years ago, we made it as an I. Then it can be run right away from the browser, okay? So I'm gonna call it KPI Sales 1, right? IBM I compliant name, because that's what I'm saving it to the I, saving the definition. Okay, now it's ready to be run. I saved it, it's ready to go. If I go out to my business intel library, where I put it, there it is right there, SQL Dashboard, KPI Sales. Now I'm going to jump over to the browser. I already have it open. I'm going to go to, this is the Explorer on SQL Web Interface. I'm going to go to my business intel library where I placed it. Okay. You'll see KPI Sales 1 right there, the one I just created. Double click to run it. Now from the Explorer, it opens up as a new tab. I'm just going to hit F11 to move it up, give us a little more visibility. There we have our two graphs, we have our gauge and our action buttons. Okay. Now we left the toolbar on for the sales region. Remember, that's my drill down. So if I click on region 40, which is red, I can click on drill down and I can regroup because it's doing summarization, but I can also use the application piece, which could take me to another view. Okay, in that case, it was the variance, product price variance, where it's comparing actual to list price. Now the top one doesn't have any toolbar, so I can't do anything there. Let's take a look at the dashboard that I put onto the button. Click that. This one's prompted. So it has a year, and I pick a salesman. Now the way I designed this particular dashboard was the views up at the top look at all of the sales reps. So all 7 is my sales reps and their 2017, 2018 data in detail and then in graphs. But the graph at the bottom and the data on the right are for just the salesman I selected, salesman number 1. Because this prompt is right on the dashboard, there's a reprompt button. I can choose a different sales rep. Now I'm getting information just on that sales rep. Okay, so I can continue to do that type of information. My customer order history actually obviously would run another view, and I can take it and run it from there. Now I'm going to run one more dashboard that I have built here for us. It's called KPI. I have KPI sales, right? I have my drill down that I've done. Here's one that I showed on the PowerPoint, right? It's a different KPI dashboard. A little darker colors behind my buttons, a whole bunch of gauges down at the bottom showing individual values, right? This one is meant to be no buttons really. It's up on a big screen. You can see that it changed really fast. I'll leave it up here for a second. It's actually gonna, every 20 seconds or so, it'll actually refresh and go run the SQL statement. There we go. Now the data is not changing behind there right now, so it doesn't change, but you see how you can do that. This is one that has a lot of buttons, a lot of interactivities, drill down with an application, dynamic drill down, right? So you have a lot of options to look at your KPIs, to look at your data, to have information displayed to your user. You can have it look at all the information that you'd like to see and run it from there, okay? That pretty much wraps up our demo. So what did we look at? Well, there's no doubt that SQL is a solution that has many advanced features, functions. They're there when you need them. We saw how fast and easy it can be to make the reported results, the views or the tables, right? Or we didn't really get into the applications building of that, but it is relatively simple. Adding a calculation to the definition. So a user doesn't have to add them each time, right? How many times do you hear that? Dump it to Excel, add a calculation. Do it in SQL if you can, right? That empowerment, making the information easy and flexible for your business users. They will be relying less and less on IT for reports, and IT can be more productive in the areas that they need to be, system upgrades, security. So The more you know about your database and data relations in general, the faster you will see your data in new ways. Developers, power users, DBAs, etc., start with their basic Windows skills to create views, and you'll start seeing data that you probably didn't know was out there. You'll gain access to valuable information that was previously maybe hard to get to. Quick install, easy to learn GUI tool, fast return on investment, and put your KPI dashboards right within easy reach for your users.
Nice job, Mike. Thanks.
Thanks.
Definitely a lot of flexibility with the SQL dashboards.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of customization that can go on. I think we have a quick polling question, and then we're going to jump into your questions. So, would you like to see more SQL with a one-on-one demo? So this one's just a yes, maybe, not at this time. So we'll pop that up for you there. If you wouldn't mind answering that, we'd appreciate it. And then we'll start jumping into these questions. I know we had a couple come through.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at too.
Yeah.
I'll try to grab them.
I think a couple probably came through before you got to a certain part here, because
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so probably already have an answer, but we will make sure we address it. So I think that's probably enough time on that poll. So thanks, Mike. And then, so our first question here is, can you add a variable to a dashboard, like a customer number?
Absolutely. We did show that on that one where it was actually not attached to the dashboard. A little technical question there. It's attached to the view. You set the prompt at the view level, and then when that view is run from a dashboard, it will prompt the user for the information. So I did put that out there. If you have multiple queries out there, you can have it prompt for one, like in a customer number or date range or account number, something like that. Absolutely. And then you have multiple. The trick there is naming your variables all the same, right? Name them all Mike. No, I'm just kidding. But if they're all named Mike and you have 4 of them on your screen, when you run it, it'll ask you one time, and that'll apply to 4 different views. So absolutely, you can do that.
Great.
That was a good question.
Yeah.
So I see another one out here. It says, just to confirm, you don't need to create metadata or any special objects to access data from the browser. No, you're running the same objects right against it. Runs the SQL statement, which is saved in the SQL view object. It gets fresh data each time. So no, there's no metadata. There's no HTML objects. There's no magic behind the scenes. You just run it. It's easy and it's beautiful to do. Yep. Good question.
So we have time for one more here, Mike. How secure is SQL and your browser interface?
Oh, okay. Yeah, good question. Yeah, you have full control over the security on that. We support IBMI's object authority. So if you don't use our security, if you have authority set up based on the library that the objects are in, the objects themselves within that library, you can secure using IBMI security, or you can secure the data down to an extent underneath. We also have our own. We have a couple of different levels of authority that you can set up. So you can do something similar to that within SQL, which sits on top of that. It doesn't replace the IBMI authority, but it works in conjunction with your IBMI authority. So yeah, it's pretty secure. You don't want to, put stuff out to the world and open up your HTML and open up your system out there and allow people to do a lot of things, which, hey, is possible, right? But you just keep it behind your firewall, make your users come in some sort of secure fashion, and then run their views.
I think there was one more that came in from Robert, Mike. I don't know if you have time to address that one.
I don't know if I see that one.
Can you use logical files?
Oh, there it is. I see it now. My window wasn't large enough. Yes, you can. Yeah, when you go into the default of creating a view, it defaults to just using physicals, but there's a little checkbox up in that window when you're adding your database files to include your logicals. If you're doing it from the Files and Fields tab and the graphical side, you can use logical files, SQL tables, etc., and bring those together that way. Yep, absolutely, you can. Good question, Robert.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we are at the end of our webinar here. Mike, thank you, and nice job with the demonstration.
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yep, we really appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Thank you.